relationships that have been negative or have not always sought to have your best interest in mind, or even worse, disentangling from relationships that have actually been abusive or actively harmful. And I thought I would just share a brief experience here in case it's helpful for anyone else who's like finding their way on their journey and on their path of tuning into what feels right to them and protecting their energy, protecting their life, protecting their mind from negative forms of consciousness. And I had an incident earlier this year where someone in my extended family was displaying some really overt harassment type of behavior to strangers in public. And I addressed it, I confronted it, and said that's not okay with me, and that's really nasty behavior, and I can't be family with people who engage in that level of harassment or abusive behavior. Well, that didn't go over very well. That didn't go over very well, and I then got attacked and harassed. And that was not the only time. There was a follow-up that happened from then someone else in the family who, under the guise of wanting reconciliation, got me to text with them, but then proceeded to blame me for like people's health issues in the family, blame me for a whole host of things, and then attack me and harass me again. And so this is why I'm no longer family with people who engage in harassing or abusive behavior, because this pattern has been clearly documented. And when we find these sorts of situations coming up in relational dynamics, it can be tricky, because we've been programmed as a society to be obligated to family. And we've been programmed to believe that we have to engage with people, even if they're not willing to take accountability for their negativity or for harm that they have caused. And that's an interesting thing, because it keeps us entangled. It keeps us very much affected by negative dynamics. When we actually find the power to hold a boundary, or to just say, this isn't okay with me, and I'm going to go my way, I'm going to go a different way and not be around this anymore, that actually has the power to end that dynamic, even if it's difficult, even if others don't understand it, and even if it makes others mad. And so sometimes finding our power to rise above that sense of obligation, that sense of having to engage with someone, or having to even be connected or stay connected to someone who's wanting to pull you into drama or blame you or attack you. It's like we've been programmed to allow that. We've been programmed to allow that. And we've also been programmed to allow a lot more like subtler forms of negativity and negative entanglement in relationship. And we've been programmed to allow others to not take accountability for their healing, and to not take accountability for shifts in behavior that move us out of a place of abuse or harassment into a place of love, to a place of accepting other humans and their journey. And so, I think we all go through some sort of situation in relationships, either in family or friendships or even work at times, where we find ourselves entangled in a strange negative dynamic, and it has some power over us. And we have to find a way to reclaim that power. And sometimes that comes through confronting the negativity. Sometimes that comes through not engaging with it. Sometimes that comes through just holding a strong, truthful boundary with protection and separation. But ultimately, if we don't address a negative dynamic, or we don't stand in our power, it's going to continue to affect us. we're going to continue to give some of our power to these people who have wanted us to enable their negativity. So this world has really struggled from enablement. This world has really struggled from lack of accountability. This world has really struggled from people finding themselves so mired in their own shadow and demons and ego distortions that then when they're confronted with an opportunity to actually face a shadow or actually engage in a true healing process, they can't do it. And it actually exacerbates some of their negativity. Some of those people are out there, and so I want to speak to this today because, I know a lot of people have experienced things like this, and it's unfortunate. It's not the way things should be in relational dynamics. And ultimately, part of our karmic tests in this life are identifying those negative or distorted relational dynamics and demanding better and standing for what is true for ourselves, standing for our boundaries and our health and the type of reality we want to live in, and not letting that negativity into our life, not letting that negativity think we have to stay entangled with it. So anyway, it's an interesting experience to witness these sorts of things and to find our way to a place of power, to be a mirror, to be a vessel of truth, and to say, a particular dynamic or way of operating is not okay and is unhealthy, and it can change. And ultimately, sometimes when we hold a boundary, that also brings up in others exactly what we need to see to be able to continue holding that boundary. So I'm over here holding some boundaries this year, and I bless everyone else in their journey of holding boundaries that feel appropriate to them, and also recalling their power, reclaiming their power from any negative force or person who has not wanted to face their own shadows and have projected that onto you. It's not yours to carry, and we can return it to sender, we can return it to source, and ask the light of source to support us in our process of standing in our truth, living the life we want to live, free from dynamics that are not for us anymore. And of course, as a reminder, if negative dynamics get too negative or too egregious, or start to cross the line into abuse, we should all remember that legal action is available, and there is legal support and protection that can be enacted if abuse or harassment behaviors exacerbate or get to a point that are unsafe.